Okay, so what if I told you that Google's best AI model ever, the fastest, smartest, and cheapest one, just leaked accidentally to the public? It sounds like something out of a movie, but a few really interesting clues suggest we might have just gotten a secret preview of the next generation of Gemini. All right, here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll dig into the clues behind this mysterious leak. Then, we're going to see what these phantom models can actually do. After that, we'll connect the dots to a pretty compelling theory about something called Gemini 3.0 Flash. And finally, we'll explore why this could be a massive game changer for everyone.
So this whole mystery, it doesn't start with some big press release or a fancy conference. Nah. It starts out in the wild, on a public testing ground for AI.
And this right away brings up this huge question. Have we just caught a glimpse of a secret, incredibly powerful new model from Google way before they were ready to show it to the world? The first clue pops up here on a platform called Alamarina. Now, you got to think of this place like a fighting ring, but for AI models. Developers can put their AI up completely anonymously, and then users like you and me vote on which one performs better in head-to-head battles. It's a really cool way to see how your tech stacks up in the real world. And then all of a sudden, these two new, totally anonymous models start showing up, and they're just dominating. Their names? Skyhawk and Seahawk. And right there, that's our first big clue. That naming style, it just screams Google. They've used birds of prey code names like this internally for years. Okay, so a cool code name is one thing, right? But the real question is, what can these things do? Let's get into the evidence and see them in action. So, for the first big test, Skyhawk was given this seriously ambitious coding challenge. Build a complete operating system that runs entirely inside a web browser. I mean, think about that for a second. And honestly, the result was just staggering. This wasn't some simple little mock-up. It spit out a system with working notifications, its own web browser inside the browser, a command line terminal, even a media player, and a bunch of other useful apps. The level of functional complexity here, it's just on another level. All right, let's move on to the next test. This one's a bit different. It's less about the nuts and bolts coding and more about creativity. The task, create a weather app with really vivid 3D animations. And wow, this is where you really see the creative horsepower. Skyhawk didn't just build some static app. No way! It generated these incredible animated simulations for crazy stuff like a solar flare and a cyclone. The visual quality, the complexity, it's absolutely top tier. Okay, for our final test, we've got a head-to-head battle. This time it's Seahawk, and it's going up against a known heavy hitter, Claude Subnet 4.5. The challenge? A really technical one. Create a realistic, working 3D model of a mechanical watch. And the results here are, well, they're super interesting. Claude's version, you can see it's brighter, it's visually clearer, but it made a huge mistake. It put a gear on the outside of the watch body where it just wouldn't work. Now, Seahawk's version, yeah, it's dark, it's kind of hard to see, but the mechanism itself, it's functionally perfect. And get this, it was interactive. You could hover over a part and it would tell you what it does. So the takeaway here is crucial. Even though it wasn't as pretty, Seahawk's underlying logic and engineering were just plain better. So, okay, we've got these ridiculously powerful models. We've got the Google-style code names, but what does it all actually mean? This is where we start connecting the dots, and it leads to a really compelling theory. And then we get this, the potential smoking gun. A direct quote from Google CEO Sundar Pichai. He's on record teasing a new model called Gemini 3.0 Flash, saying it's going to be very, very good, maybe even their best model. He's not just talking about some minor update here. He is setting expectations through the roof. So when you put all the pieces on the table, the picture becomes pretty darn clear. You've got these two powerhouse models that just show up out of the blue on a testing site. Their code names fit Google's MO perfectly. And this all happens right when the CEO of Google is hyping up a new Flash model as their next big thing. I mean, come on, the pieces just fit. Now, it's really important we get what Flash probably means here. This isn't like light or some budget version. The theory is that this is a genuine breakthrough. We're talking about an AI that has the brainpower of a top-tier model, but it's also lightning fast and way, way cheaper to run.
This suggests a total redesign of how the AI works, letting it get to brilliant answers with way less effort. It's like having your cake and eating it too.
Okay, so let's just assume for a second this theory is right. Let's say Skyhawk and Seahawk are Gemini 3.0 Flash. What does that actually mean for the rest of us? Why is this such a potential game changer? This table, right here, this really breaks it down perfectly. For a long time in AI, you've had to make a choice, a trade-off. You could have a huge flagship model that's super smart, but it's going to be slow and crazy expensive to run because all that brain power takes a ton of processing. The alternative, something fast and cheap, but it's just not going to be as smart. What Gemini 3.0 Flash is rumored to do is just break that trade-off completely. And that's the whole ball game right there. A Flash architecture could completely get rid of that compromise between power and accessibility. You're talking about making the absolute smartest AI available to way more people for way more things without those insane costs or waiting times. It's basically democratizing elite AI. Which leaves us with one final massive question. If Google really pulls this off, if they deliver a model that is the smartest, the fastest, and the cheapest all at once, will that just completely change the AI race as we know it? It kind of feels like we're about to find out.